Welcome to Vermont Today. I'm your host, Terry Geralman, and my guests this month are Bram Kranichfeld and Dr. Curtis Hagan. Bram, a graduate of Cornell Law School, is a criminal prosecutor at the Chittenden County State's Attorney's Office, a member of the Burlington City Council, and has just announced his candidacy for the Mayor of Burlington in the March elections. Like myself, Curtis started out as an electrical engineer, and then he went back and got a PhD in philosophy, and now he's a professor of philosophy at the State University of New York in Plattsburgh. Bram, would you like to tell our viewers something about your campaign for Mayor of Burlington?
Absolutely, Terry. Well, you know, as you just stated, I am a Burlington City Councilor. I am also a criminal prosecutor here in Chittenden County. I live up on Hyde Street with my wife, Erin, who's working very hard to become a teacher. And I'm running for mayor because I feel that it is time for a change in the city of Burlington. You know, I really deeply care about the city and about the community here. And I think what strikes me most emphatically about Burlington is the sense of community that everybody has. I mean, people really care about each other in Burlington. They really care about where the city's headed. And I feel that in the last few years, people have gotten disillusioned. You know, they're starting to tune out. There's been a large controversy around Burlington Telecom and the management of the city finances. And I think that this election is our chance to have a new beginning and to come together as a community and to move forward again. And for me, you know, what I'd like to focus on is, first of all, getting our fiscal house in order, getting the finances cleaned up. I think we need to make the accounting system much more transparent and accessible. I'd like to see the budget process change so that we're looking for all the efficiencies in the budget before we're ever even thinking about putting the burden on the taxpayers. And obviously we have to deal with Burlington Telecom, which in my opinion means you know, keeping an open mind, looking at all the options and all the proposals, but in the end making the first priority the financial well-being of the city and getting our credit rating back. And what I'd like to see us focused on, Terry, is growing the city in a positive way. And for me, that means focusing on three things that have been sort of lost by the wayside in the last few years. I think we need to look back at a strong school system, at having safe neighborhoods, and at having a vibrant downtown. You know, I really think we need to focus again on attracting and retaining businesses, on partnering with businesses rather than being an obstacle to them. I want to see a coordinated community policing initiative to deal with the nuisance crimes that we see all over the city, but also we've got to have a renewed focus on traffic safety, complete streets, pedestrian and bike safety, and there has got to be a renewed focus on the school system and on supporting our schools, just because it's such a foundational element to growing the city. It's the reason why people come here and why people stay here. And as mayor, I would absolutely be a strong advocate for the school system. And so, you know, I'm ready to do this. I'm ready to make these changes. I'm ready to make these decisions. I've been consistently voting on the city council with an eye towards what's best for the city in the long term, not whatever the short-term political winds are going. As chair of Burlington Electric Commission, I was very strongly advocating for renewable energy at affordable rates, which is something I would continue to do as mayor. And as a deputy state's attorney, you know, I'm a criminal prosecutor. It's all about making very hard decisions every day that deeply impact this community, and that's something I'm ready to do as mayor. And I think that that's frankly what we need right now, is somebody who's willing to make the hard decisions and move forward. And so that's why I'm running, and I hope that we can get there. And I know that if we come together and can all get on the same page as a community, we can make these changes.
On your website, it says that you had experience as a business lawyer working in the area of finance. That's particularly relevant when we have this. We're being sued now, I understand, regarding the $17 million debt. And it's especially helpful to have a mayor who's both a lawyer and a business person, so you understand the business aspect of it and also the legal aspect.
Right, absolutely, Terry. I mean, I think that the experience I have as a business lawyer was to a very large extent in finance. It was you know, all kinds of financial products that we worked on, and I think that that experience is going to be invaluable as mayor in not only sorting out the finances of the city, but in creating a plan for going forward, and basing any initiatives that we do as a city on a strong, clear financial foundation. So yeah, I think that experience was certainly something that was important. And I agree with you too, that being a lawyer, and especially working in the business realm as a lawyer, I have the ability to get into contracts if I need to, and to really get into the negotiations, and to be a strong overseer of the chief administrative officer and the city attorney's office in terms of the negotiations they're engaging in. And I have no doubt that I'll be able to get into it if I need to, and get on the front lines of those sorts of discussions.
I remember the issue over Westgate. That was a little before you were elected, but there was a problem with that contract. It would have been helpful to have someone experienced in contracts writing that up when the city got involved. And the housing, they were supposed to provide low-income housing, and they never did. Right. Because of the way the contract was written.
Right. Yeah, could you remind, now that issue was that the Westgate developers were supposed to either put a certain amount of money into the city towards affordable housing, or they were supposed to actually provide their own affordable housing. Is that right?
Well, as I understood the idea of what they were supposed to do was that the place where the Vermont Hotel is now being built, right across the street from where your office is, was supposed to be affordable housing. And that was part of the deal of allowing them to build the Marriott and the condos next to the Marriott. But instead, they were able to say, well, they'll pay $400,000 to the city and get out of the commitment. And it would have been much better to have the affordable housing, I think. Most people think that.
Right, right. Well, you know, I wasn't on the council when that happened, so I don't know what information was provided or what the actual agreement was, but certainly that's a good example of why it would be valuable to have a mayor who can get into the contracts and can really understand the negotiations. Because, you know, going forward, one of my goals is to make every aspect of our city government as transparent as possible and as accessible as possible. And I think, you know, for example, with Burlington Telecom, I think had the underlying problems involved in the business been disclosed early on publicly, we probably wouldn't be in the situation we are now in terms of the finances. And so, you know, the example you raised with Westgate, I think any of those negotiations ought to be as open as they possibly can. And if you don't even understand as a mayor where you're at in terms of the contract, or what liabilities you have, or what obligations you have, then I think you're in trouble. So, so I agree. That's something that I will do my best to address going forward.
I also noticed on your website you said that you took a nonpartisan approach in the city council. And I was wondering, does that mean that you're halfway between progressive and Democrat?
Well, you know, I don't like to... The way I approach the city council is I will exercise my judgment on whatever issue comes up. And the bottom line question for me is what's best for the city of Burlington on this issue, not what party has raised this or what party agrees with this. And if the progressives raise a good issue, I will, you know, if they raise something that I think is a good idea, I'll support it. If the Democrats raise something that I think is a good idea, I'll support it. And if the Republicans raise something that I think is a good idea, I'll support that. And, you know, I think that the partisanship on the council has paralyzed the city in a lot of ways. I feel that there's a lot of energy that's wasted on political posturing at the council level that doesn't need to be wasted. And as far as taking a nonpartisan approach, again, you know, the goal for everybody ought to be what's the best for the city in the long term, and that's also got to be the goal for the mayor. I mean, you can't, especially coming into this next term where there's going to be so many hard decisions that have to be made. You know, we're going to have to make some really hard decisions that are going to deeply impact this city and its future. And if you're swaying in the political winds when you're making those decisions, then I think we're all in trouble. So, you know, it's got to be exercising your judgment in the best way with a higher view towards what's best for the city.